Moving on now to neighboring Bangladesh, the Muhammad Yunus-led interim government in Bangladesh has claimed that it has heard that their request for extradition of ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina may be turned down by India. Speaking to media, the interim government's advisor, Mahfuz Alam, has said, our observation, I'm quoting him here, our observation is that they have made a political decision that they will not return her. We are hearing as such, unquote. This was said on December 23rd, sent a note, in fact, Bangladesh, in fact, had sent a note on December 23rd to New Delhi demanding the handing over of the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina under the extradition treaty signed between both the countries in 2013, which was amended in 2016, providing legal framework for such request. After sending formal requests to India for Sheikh Hasina's extradition, Bangladesh on December 24th said Dhaka would send a reminder about the issue in writing after waiting for a certain period if there was no reply received from New Delhi. All right, let's at this moment, in fact, go across and discuss this topic further. How is it going to impact the relations between India and Bangladesh? I'm being joined at this moment by Veena Sikri, former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh at this moment. And we are also being joined by Mohammad, Kamruzzaman, Syria journalist, TRT and analyst in Bangladesh. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us. Ms. Sikri, let me start by asking you, we had discussed this note when it was sent to India from Bangladesh to New Delhi. But the fact remains that Bangladesh is extremely keen on getting Sheikh Hasina back. India so far doesn't seem, in fact, giving into their request. How do you see this impacting the relationship between both the countries? Ma'am, may I request you to unmute yourself, please?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Let me say very clearly that the request for extradition, this is a very formal document between India and Bangladesh, and the request for extradition is based on a legal judicial process. I think the fact that the Bangladesh government, Bangladesh interim regime has sent a note verbal, a diplomatic note verbal to the government of India and is expecting a response to a note verbal, this is just not the way in which extradition agreements are worked. There are a lot of legal judicial documents which have to come with it. The case has to be heard in Bangladesh. There has to be a judicial decision on the case. And then on the basis of that, it comes to the Indian government, and Indian government is fully within its rights to examine all this further within India, including through the law courts as well. So to think that just on the basis of a note verbal, you're going to get a response from the Indian government is completely inaccurate and is not the way in which diplomatic relations are conducted. It is very surprising. Of course, maybe the interim regime has people who are not really very well versed in the conduct of diplomatic relations and the implementation of agreements like the extradition agreement. And that is why they are conducting it through the media. They're more interested in telling the media that, oh, we have sent a note verbal and, oh, now we want to send a reminder, rather than having serious discussions on the subject. And I think the government of India has been well within its rights to just keep quiet and not say anything on a document, on a note verbal, which is absolutely not the legal status of the way in which extradition agreements are conducted or implemented.
Right. Mohammad Kamruzzaman, so does that mean that without, in fact, filing for proper extradition, in fact, documents or a request, is the interim government only playing for domestic purposes, domestic politics and domestic audience, sir?
Thank you very much. Actually, not verbal, this is the highest form of diplomatic request from one country to another country. Actually, fact is that, of course, this is a matter of India. Whether India will return Sheikh Hasina or not, this is India's internal affairs. But the fact is that if India does not return Hasina, it will affect on the bilateral relations between these two countries, because some issues are very clear. That is, at least during the 1 month long student movement, and Hasina ousted on August 5, 2024. That means this year. So during this month-long movement, nearly 2,000 people were brutally murdered, and many visual available. And Hasina very strongly condemned that movement and ordered the law enforcers for taking action against the protesters. So something is very clear. And there is a growing perception among the people of Bangladesh is that India's main and strongest ally is Sheikh Hasina and her political party. And India mainly owns Hasina as its ally. So this perception, of course, will grow if India takes a decision not to return Hasina. And as the crimes of against humanity and some other killings and human rights violation against Sheikh Hasina is very clear due to many reports and visuals that are also available on social media and mainstream media.
Question,
India should,
sir. Let me ask you a follow-up question then.
According to the
note verbal is a request.
Government that
Mr. Kamruzzaman, let me ask you then this. The note verbal is a request from Dhaka to New Delhi. Why is the government of Bangladesh not following it up with filing proper extradition demand as far as Sheikh Hasina is concerned? As at this moment at least, we don't know whether there is any commission of inquiry or any court of law in Bangladesh which is looking into the cases specifically against Sheikh Hasina. What guarantees as far as her safety is concerned? So Bangladesh will have to follow this note verbal through proper documentation. Without that, it just seems that the interim government is actually only wanting to make this noise and propel these anti-India sentiments to grow in Bangladesh.
Actually, you know that there is an international crime tribunals here that was formed by Sheikh Hasina regime in 2010. And even that international crimes tribunal conducted the judicial process of many opposition leaders, and many even were served executive punishment. So under that tribunal, the trial of Sheikh Hasina will be conducted as per the decision of the interim government. So there is no trial process. It's not correct. Actually, trial process has already been started. And there is also some interim order of that tribunals, and even the interim government assured the international community that any country can send observer, or even Sheikh Hasina can take legal support from any senior lawyer from any country. So the judicial system has already been started now. Of course, it depends on interim government how diplomatically or through the other organs or government to government process, how Bangladesh will proceed this issue on. And of course, Bangladesh may request formally to the interim government, to the Indian government to return back Sheikh Hasina.
Veena Sikri, but this is a very complicated matter. It's a catch-22 for India as well. Keep Sheikh Hasina, don't send her back. She has been one of the most trusted allies as far as India is concerned, but you are risking alienating the new government and the people of Bangladesh. If you send her back, then of course there will be a lot of people, those who will have question mark on being allies of India. How does the government of India in fact deal with this conundrum?
Please, I think long before we come to the question of India-Bangladesh relations, we have come to must look at the technical aspects under which an extradition agreement is to be implemented. Now, your guest from Bangladesh himself said that the trial will take place. It hasn't yet taken place. So there is absolutely no evidence presented in court of any kind about the allegations that he's making about events in Bangladesh, number one. Number two, when he's making allegations of a certain number of people having died and so on and so forth, even the UNHCR, which was invited to Bangladesh to make an inquiry and a report on the allegations of people having died, they have done that twice, and they have said we have not been given any evidence. So obviously this is a political gimmick by the interim regime. I think they are the ones, as you correctly mentioned, they're trying to whip up this anti-Indian hysteria, and they are of course all the time more and more wanting to go, undo whatever has been achieved since 1971, go back into the lap of Pakistan and do all those military cooperation that they were doing in the pre-90s. one period. So I think we have to look at it from our own interest, on the interest of the bilateral agreement between India and Bangladesh,
Right.
and not in terms of any political gimmickry within Bangladesh, which is intended to cast a shadow over the relationship. Doing it for that purpose.
Okay,
Within Bangladesh.
I'm completely out of time. I have to leave it there. Thank you so much to both of you for sharing your views on the broadcast at this moment.